Chapter 31. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Another week has passed since the Shield incident. At this time, Chen Ye was driving a jeep toward Stark Manor. It took Chen Ye nearly 3 hours to reach his destination from Hell's Kitchen. Stark Manor is located 200 miles away from the Big Apple. A magnificent manor is located here. The so-called world-famous rich people, within a radius of 100 acres, are all assets belonging to the Stark family. The one who greeted Chen Ye was Tony Stark's driver and bodyguard. Happy, Chen Ye drove the car to the open-air parking lot and saw that the parking lot was full of various luxury cars with very flashy colors, just like Tony Stark's personality. Chen Ye's jeep parked inside looked a bit like a husky mixed with a wolf pack. Seeing Chen Ye get out of the car, he hurried up to shake hands. "Mr. Chen Ye, long time no see. Welcome to Stark Manor. Stark is busy in the basement now. I will take you in first." Stark Manor is quiet and peaceful. Surrounded by green trees, it is full of vitality. There are also many entertainment facilities in the manor, such as swimming pools, tennis courts, etc. for the owner Tony Stark to use. While visiting, Chen Ye thought that now that he has money, should he buy such a villa and enjoy it well. However, as soon as the idea of changing houses came into Chen Ye's mind, he immediately slapped himself. Isn't it nice to be a landlord? Why do you have to live in this godforsaken place? Looking at the size of this villa, I don't know how much property tax I have to pay in a year. But I can change my car. Chen Ye decided to go and see the car when he returned to Hell's Kitchen. In fact, the current car was left to him by his dead father, and it was older than him. Happy led Chen Ye all the way to the villa. Stark was not working in the basement, but was waiting for Chen Ye at the door of the villa. When Tony Stark saw Chen Ye, he opened his arms to greet him. "Man, welcome to my home, Stark Manor. Your house is really big. If it weren't for Happy, I guess I would get lost here. You are a single dog, living in such a big place, you won't feel lonely." Chen Ye teased Tony Stark. Tony Stark put on his usual annoying expression and said, "Because I am Tony Stark, a world-renowned rich man, I have lived in a manor since I was a child. This is the kind of place people live. Isn't it you?" After hearing Tony Stark's annoying speech, Chen Ye was speechless. What he thought was that the salary he mentioned before was still too little, but Chen Ye still said, "You live alone, how lonely it is. Otherwise, Pepper can also move in, so you can have a companion. If it doesn't work, I still have a lot of empty rooms in my apartment. I will rent you one and keep you company with Yiding Ethan." After hearing Chen Ye's words, Stark showed a very obvious awkward expression on his face. Then he walked into the villa on his own. Seeing that Stark didn't talk to him, Chen Ye didn't care and followed Stark's ass. Stark took out a bottle of red wine and poured it into 2 glasses, one for Chen Ye and one for himself. Chen Ye waved his hand. "Don't drink and drive, don't drive after drinking. Just give me a bottle of Coke." Stark saw Chen Ye wanted to drink Coke, and said unhappily, "Happy, buy me 100 boxes of Coke, let him drink enough, and let him take away the unfinished ones. It's his reward for reminding me last time." After Tony Stark returned to the company, he specifically checked Natasha and found out a lot of commercial spies hidden in Stark Industries. "Why are you like this? I kindly reminded you, but you only gave me Coke. I wanted to give you some clues this time. The thing you entrusted me with was delayed for a while because of your undercover secretary," Chen Ye said angrily. When Stark heard there was a clue, he immediately became serious and asked impatiently, "Tell me, who wants to kidnap me?" Chen Ye, on the other hand, was not in a hurry and asked back, "It's been a month. I don't believe you can't find it yourself, or you don't want to find it." Tony Stark was stumped by Chen Ye's question. In fact, with Stark's IQ, it is impossible for him to have no discovery at all. After all, it is actually quite easy to guess. If Stark himself died unexpectedly, the biggest beneficiary would be his own uncle, but Stark really didn't want to believe that the murderer behind the scenes was his uncle who watched him grow up. At this time, Stark's state of mind was shaken by Chen Ye's question. It was messed up. "Actually, you know it yourself. Let me help you say it." "That's right, it's the one you are thinking of, Obadiah Stane, a good friend and business partner of your father Howard Stark." Chen Ye was afraid that Stark couldn't hear clearly, so he slowly announced the answer. After hearing Chen Ye's answer, Tony Stark felt as if his chest was hit by a heavy hammer. The pain made him unable to move. His eyes became empty, as if he had lost his soul. Recalling that his uncle Obadiah often came to see him when he was a child, his uncle always smiled at him, full of patience and love for him, no matter how close they were, how much they talked about everything. Tony Stark tried to stay calm, but his shaking hands had betrayed him. "What evidence do you have to prove that it was him? Why did you kill me?" Chen Ye looked at Stark, who was forcing a smile at this time, and sighed. It seemed that Stark still didn't believe that his uncle was the murderer behind the scenes. "I don't have any evidence at the moment, but I know where the evidence is. If you don't believe me, I can tell you where it is and you can go check it out yourself," Chen Ye replied. "Then I'll ask you to find the evidence for me and give it to me. $1 million. Tony Stark said weakly. At this time, he already believed what Chen Ye said. "That's your uncle, your beloved relative, you have to pay more," Chen Ye said excitedly. However, Stark was digesting the fact that Obadiah Stane was the murderer behind the scenes and ignored Chen Ye. Chen Ye looked at Stark's distraught look in front of him and couldn't help but soften his heart. "Okay, I won't charge you this time. The evidence you want is in the computer in Obadiah Stane's office. There is a video of him talking to the leader of the armed group who kidnapped you. As for the force that kidnapped you, it is called the 10 Rings. The 10 Rings has a history of more than 100 years and is also an old organization. The leader is called Mandarin. This is not something you can deal with now. As for the reason, your uncle has been selling arms to various armed forces behind your back, and the 10 Rings is one of them. Your uncle has always been dissatisfied with you occupying Stark Industries and has always wanted to monopolize it. That's why he wants to get rid of you," Chen Ye explained. "Be careful, your uncle won't let you go. Call me if you have any problem. Just be depressed for a day or two, don't act like the world is ending. This is not the famous playboy Tony Stark I know. You still have Happy and Pepper. If you really have any problem, call me and I will help you. After all, we are friends. I'm leaving first." Chen Ye saw that Stark was in a very low mood at this time and expressed his understanding. If he was betrayed, his performance might be even worse. At this time, Chen Ye also knew that men don't need comfort, they just need to be alone and quiet. No matter how others comfort them, it's useless. Some things can only be truly understood by oneself. Chen Ye also left the advice and turned away. Staying here would only make him look hypocritical. Chen Ye knew that the next time they met, Tony Stark would become the familiar Iron Man in his previous life. Chapter 32. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man was very happy. "Do you want to go with me today?" Chen Ye asked Deadpool while adjusting his collar. Today is a very important day for Chen Ye, so Chen Ye rarely dressed up properly. Wearing a Zhongshan suit, a suit or something, Chen Ye said that it was too tight. For Hell's Kitchen, it is also a big deal, because the only community college in Hell's Kitchen sponsored by Chen Ye has finally been renovated. Deadpool did not wear his black and red tights today, but showed his burned face. Deadpool's face was because he had cancer, and in order to survive, he participated in Project X and implanted regenerative ability. Then the regeneration ability and cancer are in a dynamic equilibrium, so Deadpool's appearance has always remained in a burned state, so it is not wrong to say that Deadpool is the most shameless person in Marvel, because he has no face at all. Deadpool was lying on his head with his left hand, holding the remote control in his right hand, watching TV, and replied weakly, "I have no motivation today. I was dumped by Miss Belinda, the waitress at the bar yesterday. I'm not going anywhere today." Chen Ye heard it and complained, "You were just dumped unilaterally. You will be dumped every day." After saying that, he left without caring about Deadpool. Chen Ye did not choose to drive. After all, the community college was not far from Chen Ye's neighborhood, so Chen Ye planned to walk there and inspect the streets he was responsible for. Along the way, Chen Ye watched the streets he was responsible for become well organized, and even some people set up stalls here to sell genuine bags and breakfast. Chen Ye even saw Chinese vendors pushing breakfast carts to sell soy milk and fried dough sticks. Chen Ye looked at a peaceful neighborhood and felt that his efforts this year were not in vain. If it was a year ago, Chen Ye would have seen a group of gangs fighting there, not the current situation. The changes in front of him made Chen Ye just want to say, nothing to do today, listen to music in the brothel. Unconsciously, Chen Ye found that he had walked to the gate of the community college. Jean Bing in front of the gate pointed at the gate and seemed to be talking to his secretary Sharon O'Casey. Chen Ye hurriedly stepped forward and said to Jean Bing, "Uncle Jean Bing, why are you here today? Let Sharon accompany me." "Ha ha ha, this is not my good godson. The school has been renovated. How can I not come? Besides, I am also a school director after all, and I paid half of the money. If there is someone who dares to cut corners, I can let him see God as soon as possible." Jean Bing looked very happy. Maybe he also wanted to make a contribution to the education of his hometown. Jean Bing then said to his secretary, "Sharon, introduce it to us." Sharon O'Casey nodded, then took the lead and introduced, "At present, our community college has 3 areas, namely the teaching area, the living area and the activity area. The teaching area has a teaching building and a library. The teaching building has 3 floors and 36 classrooms. There are 3 classes in each grade from 1 to 12. The living area is divided into a cafeteria and a dormitory building. A dormitory building currently has 6 floors, each floor has 20 rooms, each room is 200 feet, and a room can accommodate 4 people. There are currently 2 buildings under construction. 200 feet for 4 people is not a bit small, Mr. Chen Ye?" The secretary asked. Chen Ye touched his chin, thought for a while, and said, "Change it to 6 people in 1 room." After listening to the secretary kindly asked, "Mr. Chen Ye, will it be too crowded for 6 people?" After hearing this, Chen Ye turned his head and squinted his eyes at the secretary. "Many children in Hell's Kitchen don't even have a place to sleep. 6 people sharing a wall is not considered crowded." Jean Bing, who was standing by, nodded slightly after hearing what Chen Ye said. After all, for Jean Bing, a native of Hell's Kitchen, if he had a safe place to sleep in his childhood, 6 people sharing a room would not be a problem. Chen Ye thought that this secretary was eating too well. He should let her go to the Far East to visit the university dormitories there. 200 feet is about 18.5 square meters. This condition can accommodate 10 people in some universities in the East. I was very merciful not to build the university dormitories according to prison standards. Besides, those children in Hell's Kitchen, how much money can a family have? Some children don't even have parents. Chen Ye didn't expect them to pay tuition and accommodation fees. If they were given free accommodation, what else could they expect? Perhaps realizing that she had said something wrong, Secretary Sharon continued, "Of course, compared to before, this school can provide children with a safe learning environment, and they have installed heating in their dormitories. Your generosity will definitely be remembered by the children in Hell's Kitchen in the future." In the United States, the cost of installing air conditioners is generally much higher than that of installing heating, which is why Chen Ye did not install air conditioners in the school. After all, it is difficult to heat people to death, but in the winter in New York, people may freeze to death. The secretary's compliments clearly touched Chen Ye's heart. Although Chen Ye's original intention of building this school was simply to give children a place to go to school, it is also a good thing to leave a good reputation. The secretary continued to take Chen Ye to visit the campus and introduced, "As for the activity area, we have built 2 basketball courts and a boxing gym. In accordance with your instructions, we have also built a hitting gym. The American football field you requested could not be built due to insufficient area. At present, we only need to wait for the government's education department to pass our approval, and then we can start recruiting professors and start recruiting students." But the secretary looked at Jean Bing with concern. Then he explained to Chen Ye, "In terms of enrollment, because the young people in Hell's Kitchen can continuously provide fresh blood for the gangs. If Mr. Chen Ye recruits them all into the school, the gangs will never agree. You should know this very well." "I know this. I believe Uncle Jean Bing will not ignore it." Chen Ye threw the question to Jean Bing. Jean Bing took a puff of his cigar and said, "I will send you an invitation letter in your name to invite them to my company for a meeting." They will give me a face. As for how you convince them, it's your business. That's enough. I'll talk to them about the rest. Chen Ye knew very well that the gangs in Hell's Kitchen were unruly and looked like they were the best. Even if Jean Bing came out, he might not buy it. After all, there are only so many teenagers in Hell's Kitchen. The gangs themselves were not enough to digest them. Now they are being wiped out by Chen Ye. If it were Chen Ye himself, he probably wouldn't agree. However, if Hell's Kitchen wants to have a future, community colleges are a must. Children are like a blank sheet of paper, and there is only black in Hell's Kitchen. What Chen Ye wants to do is to make it colorful even if it is black. After sighing, Chen Ye's eyes just stopped on the school wall, and then turned around and told his secretary Sharon, install barbed wire on the wall and turn on the electricity. I want to ensure that no matter whether it is people from outside or students in the school, there is only one choice for entering and exiting, the gate. Chapter 33. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Irish gang headquarters is a hidden factory, and its business scope is to repair and modify vehicles. The Irish gang is a veteran gang in Hell's Kitchen. Before Kingpin came out, it ruled Hell's Kitchen for nearly decades, but was later defeated by Kingpin, but a lean camel is bigger than a horse. Even after being hit hard, the Irish gang is still one of the top gangs in Hell's Kitchen. At this time, the air in the office was filled with thick cigar smoke. 4 groups of leather sofas formed a square, and 2 of the sofas were occupied by a middle-aged man in a suit. To outsiders, there was almost no difference between the 2 men. It was obvious that they were twins. The younger brother held an invitation in his hand and said angrily, "Tom Ralph, I heard that Kingpin's godson invited us to his company to attend a meeting this weekend. There are issues about the community school he established that need to be discussed. This Kingpin is now increasingly thinking of himself as the master of Hell's Kitchen. You say we shouldn't go. Others give him face, but we don't need to give it to the AI Air gang." After handing the invitation to another person, Tom Ralph comforted his brother, "Jerry, how many times have I told you not to call me by my full name? We must go, not only to go, but also to invite everyone who received the invitation to go with us." "Brother, what do you mean? There are so many of us, but we are still afraid of Kingpin alone. If we force him into a corner, the worst that can happen is that both sides will be destroyed." Jerry Ralph has always been dissatisfied with Kingpin, and often instigated other gangs to attack Kingpin's territory together. "Don't worry, Mrs. Gao from the Hand, the power behind Kingpin, has come to me. Mrs. Gao said that Kingpin is just an untamed dog now, and promised that as long as we kill Kingpin, we will be the king of Hell's Kitchen. That I was worried that there was no good way to make Kingpin attract more hatred, and this meeting was just an opportunity. As for his godson Chen Ye, he is just a little kid." Tom Ralph looked like he was planning a strategy. He didn't take Chen Ye seriously. After all, when Tom and Kingpin were fighting, Chen Ye was still playing in the mud. The Mexican gang is in the suburban slums at the edge of Hell's Kitchen. The main business of the Mexican gang is drugs and grass. 60% of the drugs in Hell's Kitchen come from them. There are simple buildings everywhere, the terrain is complex and intertwined, the population density is extremely high, and it is very easy to hide and escape. The main residents here are drug addicts and homeless people who come from other places. The Mexican gang's base is at the innermost part of the slum, and you have to go through the simple and dilapidated dangerous buildings. The smelly garbage and the desperate, confused, and bloodthirsty eyes of the homeless and drug addicts, deep in the slums, in a house that looks shabby but is decorated extravagantly inside. A group of Latinos wearing flip-flops and Hawaiian-style clothes each hugged a few beautiful women in bikinis, giving off a feeling of nouveau riche. At this time, a confidant carrying an AK-47 came in and said respectfully to the leader, "King Bing sent someone to deliver the invitation, boss." Gust, the leader of the Mexican gang, said loudly, "Who, King Bing? Where is the letter?" That the confidant on the side handed the letter over respectfully. Gust snatched it, tore the envelope into pieces in a few seconds, opened the invitation letter and read the contents. Then Gust crumpled it into a ball and threw it on the ground, mocking loudly, "Chen Ye, a person who has repeatedly opposed me dares to invite me? I'm afraid that I will see him and can't help but shoot him." Then he told his confidant, "Go, I won't go, go find a few drug addicts, install time bombs and send them to the meeting place. I will go, but I will deliver the gifts. Then go find mutant mercenaries, money is not a problem, as long as they can kill Chen Ye, that bastard, and meet all requirements." This Chen Ye has always been very resistant to the appearance of drugs. Before, Gust's men were repeatedly defeated in the neighborhood that Chen Ye was responsible for. Chen Ye is cutting off Gust's money. Cutting off someone's money is like killing their parents, not to mention that in Gust's eyes, money is far more important than his parents. Gust knew that those human bombs might not kill Chen Ye, but most of the people attending the party were ordinary people. If he was lucky, he might be able to kill a few important gang leaders. This is possible that it was an accident on Chen Ye and Jean Bing's chassis. They certainly can't escape responsibility and cause them some minor troubles. Besides, even if it fails, Gust won't suffer any loss. At most, he can hire mutants. If one is not enough, then two. Gust may not have anything else, but he has plenty of money. Drug dealers are the least short of money. The area on the other side of Hell's Kitchen bordering the rich area, this is the chassis controlled by the British gangster Shelby family. Because there are often blades in the door caps, they will take off the caps to attack during fights. So people here also call them the Razor Gang. The current leader of the Razor Gang is Tommy Shelby. The previous leader is also Tommy Shelby's brother Arthur Shelby, who unfortunately died in a gang war. Most of the Razor Gang members are white people from Europe. Because of their skin color, they don't get along with the other two gangs. But because their Razor Gang members dare to fight, and because there are sufficient security forces stationed near the rich area and fewer gangs nearby, the Razor Gang can gain a foothold and quickly occupy this area. In an English-style villa, Tommy Shelby is drinking English afternoon tea at this time, and there is an opened invitation on the table. Tommy Shelby is a veteran and admires Chen Ye's way of dealing with people. He also supports the idea of opening a school in Hell's Kitchen. However, admiration is admiration, and if Chen Ye can't come up with enough conditions, Tommy Shelby will not easily express his opinion. Hell's Kitchen is going to be chaotic, it's better to be more chaotic. Only when it's chaotic can we have a chance. Tommy Shelby muttered to himself, Hell's Kitchen Midtown is the most prosperous and lively area in Hell's Kitchen, and it is also the most chaotic area. There are gangs of all sizes here, and no one is submissive. In a bar in Midtown, a young Asian man wearing a black cloak and a yellow hedgehog head ordered his men. Got it, Vongala I will arrange for people to settle the newly occupied territory as soon as possible. Then the man withdrew. The yellow hedgehog head is the leader of the Vongala family, Vongala the supernova of Hell's Kitchen. Chapter 34. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man was very angry, but he was very angry. It seems that Chen Ye has also started to act. We have to speed up as well. Our territory expansion is not fast enough now. Vongala said to himself in annoyance. Vongala and Chen Ye met in an orphanage in Hell's Kitchen when they were children. At that time, Chen Ye's dead father passed away, so he was sent to the orphanage by the government. Chen Ye stayed in the orphanage for a year before being picked up by Kingpin. The conditions of the orphanage were not good to begin with, let alone the orphanage in Hell's Kitchen, where the conditions were even worse. The federal government withheld all the funding that should have been given to the orphanage, and didn't care about the lives of the orphans at all. People died every day in Hell's Kitchen anyway, not to mention these orphans without parents, who were even less cared for. On the surface, this is an orphanage, but in fact it is a breeding ground for human trafficking and organ trafficking. The caregivers inside didn't treat these orphans as human beings at all. They would regularly sell the good seedlings to the gangs to provide them with fresh blood, or sell the organs of these orphans to people in need. When Chen Ye first arrived at the orphanage, Vongala was the king of the children in the orphanage. Because Chen Ye thought Vongala looked very similar to a character in a certain cartoon, he gave him this name. Later, Vongala also thought it was good, so he has been using it until now. During this year, Chen Ye discovered that something was wrong with the orphanage and secretly investigated the truth with Vongala. Later, Chen Ye saved the orphans here through a series of efforts and the help of Jean Bing. the Vongala family was originally established by the children of the orphanage for self-protection. Later, because the orphanage was burned down, Vongala I had to lead the children of the orphanage to establish a territory in Hell's Kitchen to survive. The Vongala family, including Vongala I, has a total of 7 guardians, representing 7 attributes, namely, sky, mist, rain, clear, thunder, cloud, and fog. This proposal was also proposed by Chen Ye. Chen Ye was not among the guardians, but just held the position of elder, and Vongala I represented the guardian of the sky and was also the strongest person in the Vongala family. Although Vongala I did not understand the meaning of this attribute, he knew that Chen Ye would not harm him, and it sounded pretty good, so he has been using it until now. Of course, they do not have the abilities in that comic book, and most of the people in the Vongala family are ordinary people. At present, the Vongala family is already a prestigious force in the central city of Hell's Kitchen. It seems that my friend needs my help. Come with me this weekend, G. Vongala I said to a man with red hair and a tattoo on the right side of his face. No problem, I. Anyone who wants to touch you must step over my body. Said G, the guardian of the storm. G, the guardian of the storm, is the right-hand man of Vongala I's childhood sweetheart and the founder of the Vongala family with Vongala I. He is good at using guns and bows and arrows. Relax, we are just going to support our old friend. No one can hurt me. G. Vongala I responded calmly. However, I think other gangs don't think so. Maybe we need to prepare in advance. You know, we are short of manpower and can only defend our territory now. G said with a slightly solemn expression. Most of the people in the Vongala family came from orphanages. Because Vongala I does not allow people with bad intentions to join, the number of people has not been able to expand. It's okay, just you and I will go. The rest of the people don't need to go. Hell's Kitchen must have its own school. Vongala I said firmly. As an orphan, Vongala I knew too well the importance of Chen Ye's school to Hell's Kitchen. If there was such a school, it would be great. Wouldn't the lives of him and his companions be changed? Maybe now he has finished college and lives an ordinary life with his companions. Understood, I will arrange it. G did not refute after hearing it. As long as it was Vongala I's decision, G would support it with all his strength. At this time, Chen Ye was still sitting leisurely in the lobby of the apartment, eating watermelon and chatting with John Wick, the security guard, and had no idea that other gangs were thinking about how to deal with him, but even if Chen Ye knew, he would not take it seriously. After all, in this free country, danger is happening every minute and every second, but Hell's Kitchen is. There are relatively more houses. On the contrary, if those gangs do not take action, Chen Ye will hardly have an excuse to attack them. Chen Ye has long wanted to eradicate gangs like the Mexican gangs that have no bottom line. Will these gangs unite to make small moves? Chen Ye believes they will, even if we understand the huge gap between the enemy and us, who is willing to give up their own interests. What's more, these gangs who don't know the height of the sky and the earth are always invincible. They will not recognize the gap between the enemy and us unless they pay the price of their lives. Chen Ye is very clear that this meeting seems to be discussing the source of students and the opening of the school for Hell's Kitchen Community College. In fact, Chen Ye is secretly identifying who can be saved and who is hopeless. See which gang bosses only care about their own interests and ignore the future of Hell's Kitchen. In Chen Ye's view, such people are born evil and cannot be saved. The only one who can save them is probably God, and what Chen Ye can do is to send them to see God. Do you need me to accompany you to the meeting this weekend, boss? John Wick asked Chen Ye. John Wick looked at Chen Ye, who was much younger than him. Sometimes it was hard to imagine that he had such great ambitions and wanted to change Hell's Kitchen even under such great pressure. He was really admirable. Do you have anything to do this weekend? Do you have a crush on someone and need to go on a date this weekend? Chen Ye asked with a gossipy look on his face. John Wick. Don't be shy, we are all men, I understand very well. After all, your wife has been dead for so long. You see, Deadpool goes to girls to relax every day, although others look down on him. Thinking of John Wick's bitter and vengeful look all day long, Chen Ye couldn't help but tease. John Wick shook his head and smiled bitterly. I just saw Deadpool recently and wanted to get a dog again. It just happened to be a companion for Deadpool. John Wick has been working as a security guard in an apartment recently. He always sees Deadpool and thinks of the dog he once raised. He suddenly has the urge to buy a dog. Okay, remember not to buy a female dog. I'm afraid that Deadpool will eat me. Chen Ye said helplessly. Chapter 35. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The meeting was still 3 days away. At this time, the Hell's Kitchen bosses who received Chen Ye's invitation letter gathered together for a video conference. I think this is a hongmen banquet. What do you mean by discussing the school of Hell's Kitchen? In fact, it is forcing us to hand over our rights. Damn Chen Ye. This is to dig our roots. What do you mean by for the good of Hell's Kitchen? Then he should get out of Hell's Kitchen. This is really for the good of Hell's Kitchen. A person from Hell's Kitchen wants to be a fucking saint and build a school. Why doesn't he just give us money? In the meeting, everyone cursed at Chen Ye and Jin Bing. They didn't have the courage to insult them in person, so they had to hide online and vent their grievances. A bunch of clowns. A bunch of wimps. Gust, the leader of the Mexican gang, was very disdainful of the behavior of other gang bosses who only dared to curse Chen Ye and Jin Bing behind their backs. So this meeting is an online insult meeting, right? If that's all, then I'll withdraw first. I don't have time to play house with you cowards here. Gust said loudly. Everyone heard Gust mocking them for being cowardly and stopped talking immediately. Tom, the leader of the Irish gang, who heard Gust's words, was secretly happy that someone finally came to attract hatred. After a while, someone pointed a gun at Gust and yelled, "Who do you think you are? When I was in the gang, you were still playing in the mud. You are a man who made his fortune by selling drugs. Why are you showing off here? You are hiding in a poor place like the slums. If you have the guts, come out and fight Chen Ye and the others with real swords and guns." The Marquis of the High Table was killed. How can a stinky drug dealer like you beat him? We are discussing countermeasures, so it's no wonder that you can only stay in a small slum and can't get out. Since Chen Ye killed the Marquis of the High Table, he has gradually become famous. Many bosses present have self-knowledge and know that they can't compare with the Marquis of the High Table. Even the Marquis was killed by Chen Ye and took over the power of the New York High Table. It is not so easy to deal with. Seeing that all these gang leaders were mocking him, Gust suddenly had an urge to kill. You are a bunch of cowards. Why don't you all give me your territory? Anyway, you dare not resist Chen Ye. Just pack up your belongings and get out of Hell's Kitchen to retire. Anyway, I don't plan to attend this crappy meeting. As for the young people in Hell's Kitchen, everyone should rely on their own abilities. After hearing what Gus said, the big guys were unhappy. Someone immediately questioned him. Let me ask you, if you refuse Chen Ye at that time, Chen Ye insists on forcing all the teenagers in Hell's Kitchen to go to school, and he brings people to kill your territory, what can you do to stop him? After hearing this, Gust smiled confidently. Then I will call the police. After hearing Gust's answer, the online meeting was silent for a while, and no one spoke. Gust thought it was a network jam. Seeing that everyone was so surprised, Gust asked strangely, "What, is there a problem with this method?" Soon, the first laugh appeared in the video conference, and the laughter gradually became louder and louder. You are a drug dealer and you are going to find the police to solve the problem. Are you going to turn yourself in? Do you think the police will arrest you first or Chen Ye first? The rule of Hell's Kitchen has always been that the affairs of Hell's Kitchen should be resolved within Hell's Kitchen. This is an eternal rule. I didn't expect that the Gust family, one of the 3 major gangs in Hell's Kitchen, would lose the dignity of the gang and let the police intervene. This is simply a shame for our Hell's Kitchen. After listening, Gust snorted. Gustav did not agree with the pedantic ideas of these old antiques. No wonder he can only stay in Hell's Kitchen for his whole life, he explained. Chen Ye is not only a superpower, he also has many superpowers under his command. Moreover, he does not belong to any gang. Besides, everything he does now is changing Hell's Kitchen. If he can change it, why can't we? Then what's wrong with me calling the police? Don't forget, he is also the elder of the assassin organization of the High Table, and he has many assassins under his command. The police are eager to arrest these assassins. Someone else questioned, even if you call the police, what's the use of the police in Hell's Kitchen? They can't even beat us normally, do you expect them to arrest Chen Ye? Don't you know that Chen Ye the biggest sponsor of the Hell's Kitchen police department? Didn't a group of people claiming to be from the FBI come and leave Chen Ye's territory in disgrace? Obviously, these gang leaders knew what Chen Ye had done some time ago and nodded involuntarily. Seeing this, Gus continued, your ideas are all wrong. The people sent by the government last time were not enough. Chen Ye's threat is greater than ours. Don't forget that they are mutants. A group of mutants slaughtered ordinary people. Do you think the government will see this happen? But without waiting for others to refute, Gus continued, because no matter who it is, they want to eliminate unstable factors like Chen Ye. Ordinary people are always the mainstream. Mutants are aliens in front of the government or the people. As long as they kill the aliens, no matter which law enforcement agency, they will become famous and become national heroes. Chen Ye is a piece of fat meat in front of these politicians. In the face of huge interests, the government and law enforcement agencies are bound to be willing to take this risk. Besides, do you really think that the failure in the past can represent the real strength of the government? They may have just been testing that time. The strength they sent out is definitely not their real strength. The government agencies must have comprehensively analyzed the abilities of Chen Ye and his group of mutants during this period, found out their weaknesses, or developed weapons that can fight against them. In front of such a huge state machine, the strength of an individual is always vulnerable. This is why Chen Ye did not kill an agent at that time. Because he did not think he had the ability to fight against the entire country. Besides, do you think that even if we went to the meeting, we could stop Chen Ye's idea this time? The school should still recruit students, and then we will have no fresh blood. If we compromise this time, there will be the next time. In the end, do we have to give up our own gangs to him, Chen Ye? Gust's words were well reasoned, and all the leaders fell into deep thought. Chapter 36. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man was very angry, but he was very angry. Faced with Chen Ye's crazy reform, they were unwilling to give up their interests. Chen Ye was a beast that could never be fed. Since Chen Ye came back to Hell's Kitchen, the eastern area of Hell's Kitchen, which was Chen Ye's territory, was occupied by Chen Ye, and the major gangs suffered heavy losses. This time they began to reach out to them again, snatching people from them in the name of school enrollment. If this matter is really agreed, the gangs will slowly have no fresh blood. After a long time, do gang fights need us, the uncles in our 50s and 60s? This is a slow death for them. So this must be prevented from happening. Although Gust's method sounds a little unreliable and too idealistic, it is indeed a good way. If Chen Ye insisted on opening a school despite the advice of the gang leader, they would have no choice but to resist. At that time, let the government take action first. If the law enforcement department succeeds, everyone will be happy. If the government does not take action, there will be no evidence to find the gang leaders. In this way, whether Chen Ye and the government have a conflict or not, it will not happen to them. In just a few seconds, everyone sorted out the interests of this matter, and then changed their past sarcasm and began to flatter Gust. I didn't expect that this Mexican leader would use his brain. Gust laughed when he saw that everyone had changed their appearance. Gust actually had another reason that he didn't say here. After all, the people here are not good men and women, and they always need to hide a trump card. As the big drug lords in Mexico, they have the habit of bribing government officials and police since childhood, letting these government people cover for themselves. Otherwise Gust would have been arrested and shot by the official people. After coming to America, Gust has been carrying forward their fine traditions. He has bribed countless officials, the biggest of whom is the mayor of the Big Apple. According to the intelligence of the Gust family, the mayor is extravagant, has abnormal dealings with many entrepreneurs in New York City, and has even accepted bribes from Jean Bing, if it were someone else, he might give up this line, but Gust is not an ordinary person. He said that as long as the money is enough, Jean Bing's people can also become his people. Then, he immediately sent someone to contact the mayor and spent a lot of savings to buy luxury cars and various mansions for the mayor. After spending $300 million, Gust successfully won Jean Bing's corner, captured the mayor, and became the family's backer in New York. Gust himself knew very well that ordinary people did not pose any threat to Chen Ye and Jean, and were not vulnerable at all, so Gust planned to call the mayor after the video ended and asked him to arrange for the army and special forces to provide support. After all, you take money from others and help them get rid of disasters. Tom, a member of the Irish gang, also said while the iron was hot, we don't need to be afraid of Chen Ye and Jean Bing. Even if the government doesn't take action, others will. So I think we still have to attend this meeting. Everyone stopped complimenting Tom after hearing what he said. Gustav looked at Tom on the video unhappily. It was this person who interrupted his limelight, but he also asked curiously, I wonder which force also wants to take action against Chen Ye and his gang. At this time, Tom kept it a secret. I wonder if everyone has heard of how Jean Bing made his fortune. That everyone shook their heads. Although they all knew that Jean Bing had a force behind him, otherwise it would be impossible for Jean Bing to become the overlord of Hell's Kitchen so quickly, but they didn't know which force it was. They all looked at Tom, the leader of the Irish gang, curiously. Seeing that everyone shook their heads, I wonder if everyone has heard of the Hand Association. That everyone suddenly realized that it was no wonder that Jean Bing rose to power so quickly because he had the support of the Hand Association. The Hand is an organization composed of ninjas, thieves, and assassins. It has a history of hundreds of years. Guster immediately understood what Tom meant. So you mean, the Hand is about to take action against Chen Ye and his group? The leader of the Irish gang, Tom, nodded. Mrs. Gao, one of the members of the Hand, is mainly responsible for illegally researching drugs and medicines in the United States. She is very dissatisfied with Chen Ye's ban on drug trafficking in Hell's Kitchen. She will send this guest to assassinate Chen Ye and his group soon. Tom did not make his words too clear. She said that Mrs. Gao wanted to deal with Chen Ye instead of Jean Bing, and promised him to be the overlord of Hell's Kitchen. After hearing this, the gang leaders became very excited and asked Tom if he knew Mrs. Gao. They all wanted to get in touch with Mrs. Gao's drugs to see if they could get a share of the profits. Gust, the leader of the Mexican gang who also started out as a drug dealer, looked unhappy when he saw the performance of these leaders. He didn't expect that the people who had just flattered him would ignore him when they heard about Mrs. Gao. Gust, who couldn't stand this anger, turned off the video directly, hugged a girl next to him, held her head and began to relieve his anger. Tom, the leader of the Irish gang, smiled slightly when he saw Gust offline. He was still too young. Tom only used a little trick to focus the attention of these leaders on him. Tom then said, don't worry, as long as everyone works together, Chen Ye and Jean Bing are not a threat at all. So we don't need to be afraid of Jean Bing and the others, just go to the meeting and watch their performance. If we don't go, people outside will know, which will further prove that our Hell's Kitchen gangsters are afraid of Chen Ye and Jean Bing and dare not show up. When the people of the Hand Association kill Chen Ye and the others, I will share my channels with everyone. Of course, the highest bidder wins. Tom knew that you can't catch a wolf without sacrificing your child. Compared with becoming the overlord of Hell's Kitchen, these benefits are not a big deal. Besides, when the time comes, they will be eliminated, and the money they earn will not be Tom's own. The atmosphere of the meeting suddenly became lively. Don't worry, we will definitely do our part to kill Chen Ye. There is no opponent ahead of us. Go, you must attend this meeting, let Chen Ye see how powerful our Hell's Kitchen gangsters are. The gang leaders immediately spoke out in the meeting. Seeing this, Tom, the leader of the Irish gang, went offline alone, ignoring the group's silly revelry on the video conference. Humph, I wonder how many unlucky people will die in this incident. Tom felt that he didn't want to see this group of idiots. They were so easy to fool. They really thought that it was so easy to solve Chen Ye and his gang. However, for Tom, the goal had been achieved. He had provoked hatred between the gang leaders and Chen Ye, and given them certain benefits and confidence so that they had the courage to fight against Chen Ye and his gang. This time, the goal was achieved. Chapter 37. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The secret meeting in Hell's Kitchen. This is one of the bases of the hand in the Big Apple. The hand originated in the feudal era of Japan several centuries ago. Some oppressed people fled to Iga and Koga, where they practiced skills. Later, they may have been influenced by the Chinese Sun Tzu's art of war and finally formed ninjutsu. In the next 100 years, they continued to learn and train. Most of the members are proficient in hand-to-hand combat, swordsmanship, disguise, hiding, escape and other skills, and also have willpower, endurance and combat effectiveness beyond ordinary people. They are also spies and assassination experts, usually providing professional services to the rich or warlords. The hand also has powerful magic secrets that can resurrect the dead. Then it slowly developed into a notorious international organization. There are 5 fingers on a human hand, and the hand also has 5 leaders, 1 for each finger. They are Alexandra, Mrs. Gao, Bo Tu, Soanda and Murakami, all elders from Kunlun, who were expelled for trying to use dragon bone fossils to extend their lifespan. Mrs. Gao was leisurely drinking tea on the rooftop of the building. Mrs. Gao is an old lady over 50 years old. If Mrs. Gao walked alone on the street, no one would have thought that such a kind and amiable old lady would be the leader of a world-famous killer organization. Dingling. Mrs. Gao's phone rang, and the person who came was Tom, the leader of the Irish gang. Tom on the phone described the content of the conference call to Mrs. Gao, and said that many gangs are now dissatisfied with Chen Ye and Jean Bing, and proposed that they need the help of the hand. Mrs. Gao put down her teacup and answered the phone. Okay, I see. Chen Ye is indeed a trouble. I lost a lot of clients because of him. I will call someone over, don't worry. Go to the meeting first and see what Chen Ye and the others want to do. Then Mrs. Gao hung up the phone, and a hint of coldness appeared on her face. If Mrs. Gao was a kind and gentle old lady next door just now, then Mrs. Gao now is like a cold and venomous snake. Sitting opposite Mrs. Gao, Murakami looked at Mrs. Gao's expression and asked curiously, "What's wrong? Your face changed after making a phone call. Don't kill those dogs that can't be tamed." Jean Bing is the same, and the leader of this Irish gang is the same. He is negotiating with me before Jean Bing is dealt with. Don't look at what kind of stuff you are. Mrs. Gao said angrily. You have lived for so many years, can't you see through people's hearts? People's desires are endless, no one will be satisfied, and everyone wants to get more. Don't we all want to live forever? Murakami sighed while looking at the sky. Mrs. Gao realized that she had lost her composure after hearing this, and instantly returned to the appearance of a kind old lady. Mrs. Gao actually doesn't care who is the owner of Hell's Kitchen. After all, people like her who have lived for a long time don't care much about money and power. Now the only thing she cares about may be finding the legendary dragon bones and getting eternal life. However, at this stage, Jean Bing and Chen Ye must be dealt with. Since Chen Ye returned to Hell's Kitchen, Jean Bing's desire to retire has become stronger and stronger, resulting in his weaker control over Hell's Kitchen. This has made it increasingly difficult for Mrs. Gao and her friends to sell their goods, which is not what Mrs. Gao wants to see. Why don't I take action this time? I am still very curious about Chen Ye's superpowers. Murakami couldn't help but volunteer. It's rare that Murakami has this kind of character, so I won't refuse. I will send someone to deal with Kingpin. I remember that he seems to care about his wife very much. Then send someone to capture his wife and children. When Mrs. Gao heard Murakami volunteered, her eyes suddenly lit up and she quickly agreed. When the time comes, I will personally take action with my apprentice Xian. Murakami added. Mrs. Gao's mood instantly improved, as if Kingpin and Chen Ye were fish on the chopping board. After all, they have 2 fingers of the hand-in-hand society to personally go out, and Murakami's apprentice Xian is also there, plus hundreds of ninjas stationed in the Big Apple City. With such a luxurious lineup, it is difficult to lose. On the other side, Gust, who was playing with fire, also called the mayor online and asked him to send out the ace troops to provide support. Although the mayor is corrupt, he still has professional ethics. He immediately agreed to Gust's request and arranged special personnel to provide door-to-door service. He leaned back in the soft sofa, lit a cigar, took a deep breath, and then slowly exhaled, accompanied by listening to the beautiful music. He began to imagine the beautiful future of his family. At this time, the mayor over there also made a call. Long live Hydra. It turned out that the mayor was a member of Hydra. Long live Hydra. Director Pierce on the other end of the phone first looked around vigilantly, and then responded after making sure that no one was around. Director Pierce is the top leader of Hydra hidden in S.H.I.E.L.D., and his status in S.H.I.E.L.D. is equivalent to that black-boiled egg. You usually don't call me unless it's urgent. Go ahead. Director Pierce spoke first. The mutant in Hell's Kitchen has been very noisy recently. I received news that there may be a gang war in a few days. I need your support. Of course, the mayor would not accept Gust's bribe and need help, but said it was for the safety of the Big Apple. How could Pierce, who was on the other end of the phone, not know what his colleague was thinking after hearing this? He refused, saying, "You can go to the police if you have any questions. We are not responsible for such small-scale fights." The mayor understood that the bald Pierce was rejecting him in a tactful way, but after all, he had received so much money, and if he didn't do something, he was afraid that no one would honor him in the future. So he quickly said, "I am also thinking about the organization. If we can solve Kingpin and the mutant this time, my people can take control of Hell's Kitchen. At that time, we will have another base in Hell's Kitchen for Hydra. No one cares how people die there." Pierce was a little moved when he heard this, but he still said, "We have bases all over the world. One more Hell's Kitchen is not a big deal. There is no need to care about the life and death of a group of gangsters. Unless..." The mayor didn't understand what this meant, and he made up his mind. 50 million, transfer it to your personal account, and the Hell's Kitchen will belong to you. Okay, I will send Brock Rumlow to lead the team. Everything is for Hydra. Director Pierce immediately agreed seriously. Everything is for Hydra. The mayor quickly hung up the phone. Fuck, this time I lost a lot. And for Hydra, bah. The mayor cursed. In fact, the people in Hydra have little loyalty to the organization. They all joined Hydra for their own interests. Gust was anxiously waiting for the mayor's call. On the phone, the mayor first said that Gust needed to pay him an additional 100 million yuan as a fee, and then said that the matter had been taken over by the people of S.H.I.E.L.D. This is a very mysterious department. With them, Gust can rest assured. Hearing such a reply, Gust was naturally excited. Although the $100 million fee made Gust a little painful, as long as he could kill Chen Ye and Kingpin, everything was worth it. Chapter 38. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The meeting was held one day later. Hell's Kitchen, opposite Good Luck Restaurant. Natasha and Hawkeye were under the order of Black Sauce Egg to monitor Chen Ye's every move. The chain reaction caused by this recent meeting was so great that Chen Ye himself did not expect it. I heard that Hell's Kitchen is very lively recently, and many people have come. Natasha said with emotion. Isn't it, the Hand, RSTRIKE? Team Crossbones, even the Brotherhood of Mutants have come to Hell's Kitchen. Hawkeye echoed. Isn't it true, a lot of people marked as uncontrollable by S.H.I.E.L.D. have come to Hell's Kitchen. This Chen Ye is really powerful. He can stir up so many forces with just one meeting. Thanks to him, we haven't even slept these days. We have been working 24 hours a day for several days. Our skin has become worse. Natasha looked at the direction of the Good Luck Restaurant opposite with resentment. Natasha hasn't had a good rest for a few days because of Chen Ye's noise, but Chen Ye opposite has slept soundly these days. She feels very unbalanced. It feels like Chen Ye is in danger this time. Even if he is a mutant, he is no match for a well-known person like Magneto. Magneto is an existence that can destroy a country. I don't know who can invite someone like Magneto, but if Chen Ye and Kingpin die, Hell's Kitchen will be in chaos again. Hawkeye said worriedly. Yes, the federal government has never managed this place. If it weren't for Kingpin, it would be much more chaotic than it is now. Since Chen Ye came back, the residents of Hell's Kitchen have finally had a better life. Natasha looked at the residents around her with happy smiles on their faces. Chen Ye can be regarded as the savior of Hell's Kitchen. I hope he can survive this struggle. Natasha looked at the opposite side with a complicated expression. Maybe she also had a childhood like Hell's Kitchen, and she also wanted someone to save herself. Unfortunately, she didn't wait. Now this place finally has a savior, but it is targeted by many people. Knowing that this matter will put himself in danger, he still did it without hesitation. What kind of person are you, Chen Ye? On the other side, Chen Ye didn't know that Natasha's psychological activities were so wonderful. At this time, he was cooking in the kitchen to entertain his good friend Vangala I. You are handsome, young man, second only to me. Deadpool looked at Vangala I, took out a mirror to look at his face, and said narcissistically, even Vangala I, who has experienced many ups and downs, couldn't help but twitch his mouth when he saw such a narcissistic Deadpool. Thank you for the compliment. I didn't expect that the leader of the Vangala family is actually Chen Ye's good friend. Did you meet in the orphanage? Deadpool asked curiously, because in his impression, he had never seen Vangala I, and only heard that he was one of the gangsters in Midtown. Ha ha ha, yes, we were good friends in the orphanage period, and we kept in touch by phone, and he would occasionally come to see me. It's just that our gang was busy expanding this year, so we haven't met. Tomorrow is a meeting, come and have a meal, and live here by the way. Vangala I explained. Just when Vangala I was about to be unable to withstand Deadpool's questioning offensive, Chen Ye came out with a plate of braised pork. Vangala I's eyes suddenly lit up, as if he had seen the savior, and hurried over and said, "The dishes are ready, right? I'll go get the rice." "Hey, it's okay. You just sit and chat, I'll go get it." Chen Ye refused. "No, I'll do it." Vangala I ran to the kitchen before he finished speaking. A few minutes later, everyone sat down quickly and started eating. "Why are you free to come here today? You're not worried about me, are you?" Chen Ye joked. After all, Chen Ye and Vangala I haven't seen each other for a year. Today, he came to see him for the first time. "Isn't it okay for me to come here for a meal? The family has just stabilized, so I came to see my best friend." Vangala I said after picking up a piece of chicken wing. "Okay, don't I know your personality? You don't think those gangs can really do anything to me, do you?" Chen Ye said as he filled a bowl of soup with a nonchalant look on his face. Seeing Chen Ye's nonchalant attitude, Vangala I knew that Chen Ye didn't know about the internal meeting of the gangs, so putting down the bowl and chopsticks, he said with a serious face, "You may not know that a few days ago, the gang held a meeting to discuss your opening of a school and how to deal with you. I know, this is normal. If they compromise so easily, they are not a gang. But a group of ants are still ants when they gather together. Their essence will not change. It is easier to solve when they gather together." Chen Ye was not surprised after hearing this. This was all expected. They also found the Hand and the federal government. Vangala I added, at this time, Chen Ye took it a little seriously. The Hand? The federal government is okay. After listening, Chen Ye started to eat while thinking about countermeasures. Vangala I saw that Chen Ye was concerned, so he stopped talking and worked hard. "Don't say, Chen Ye's food is really delicious. Next time, I will bring Ji and the others to come and eat together. What we usually eat is garbage." Chen Ye was not surprised to hear the name of the Hand. After all, the Hand is basically one of the new bosses of every Marvel. They are just a few people driven out by Kunlun. After all, Chen Ye messed up their drug business, so it is understandable that they want to kill him. However, I have to remind Jean Bing that there seems to be a version in which Jean Bing's wife Vanessa was poisoned by Madame Gao. If Madame Gao really succeeds, Chen Ye estimates that Jean Bing will go crazy, and Chen Ye himself will not forgive himself. After all, it was because of me that Jean Bing got into unnecessary trouble. Chen Ye didn't know that even without me, Madame Gao had long been dissatisfied with Jean Bing and wanted to get rid of him. Then Chen Ye took out his phone and called Jean Bing, telling him that Hell's Kitchen was not peaceful recently, and asked Jean Bing to protect his wife and children. And stated that if it really didn't work, bring them to the apartment, and someone would protect her. After Chen Ye reminded Jean Bing, he immediately made a second call. The next second, a voice came from the phone. This is the High Table Information Center. Chen Ye slowly said, I will issue a combined bounty notice across the United States. Yes, this is the first time Chen Ye has used the power of the High Table after becoming an elder of the High Table. Chapter 39. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The other end of the phone said calmly, please report your ID number. Elder of the High Table, 9527. After Chen Ye said his ID number, he continued to give instructions. I want a list of all the members of the Hand in the Big Apple, and offer a reward. $50,000 for ordinary members, $100,000 for senior members, $500,000 for ninjas of the Hand, $1 million for important backbones of the Hand, and $10 million for each of the 5 fingers. A total of $100 million. Chen Ye never thought that the 5 fingers of the Hand would be killed, but just wanted to give it a try. Those who are really capable of killing them don't care about the $10 million, and those who care about the $10 million don't have the ability to kill Madame Gao and her group. As for the bounty, Chen Ye naturally doesn't have to pay it himself. The High Table Society gives a bounty to each elder every year, so Chen Ye doesn't feel bad about spending it. As for why he didn't offer a bounty for other gangs, Chen Ye said there was no need. After all, these people are in Hell's Kitchen, and he can handle it if he works hard. We have received your request, please wait. On the other end of the phone, the High Table Society Information Center, the administrator paused the phone at this time, and then said, all the files of the members of the Hand in the Big Apple. After a while, a High Table Society staff member in a secretary's uniform took out a copy of the latest files of the members of the Hand from the archives and handed it to the administrator. The administrator took the file and opened the first few pages to see the photos of Murakami and Madame Gao's 5 fingers. Then the administrator confirmed that it was correct and stamped the red seal of the High Table Society's bounty. Then he picked up the phone and replied to Chen Ye, the information has been recorded and will be broadcast globally later. This reward can be seen in continental hotels around the world. Soon, the people on the reward were announced to various continental hotels, and every registered killer or force received a text message. At this time, the killer who was drinking in the Continental Hotel heard the text message alert, then he took out his mobile phone, and after reading the text message, he suddenly showed joy on his face, then put down the beer in his hand and hurried out of the Continental Hotel. The content of the text message was exactly, reward target, any member of the Big Apple City Hand, total amount, $100 million, bounty requirements, $50,000 for ordinary members, $100,000 for senior members, and $500,000 for ninjas of the Hand. Status, effective immediately, possible location of the target, Hell's Kitchen. At this moment, the mobile phone rings in the Continental Hotel are one after another, and every killer who sees the message is extremely excited, as if the US dollars are waving at them. $100 million and a large number of targets to hunt instantly exploded in the assassin world like a big mushroom. Instantly, a large number of assassins began to rush to Hell's Kitchen, fearing that they would miss the feast if they were late. At this time, flights from all over the world to the Big Apple were instantly sold out, and the local assassins in the Big Apple were already packing their equipment and setting off. At this time, Winston, who was supervising the Hell's Kitchen Continental Hotel, naturally saw the text message and sighed, is our boss finally going to show his fangs? Winston always thought that Chen Ye had forgotten his identity as an elder of the High Table. After all, since Chen Ye became an elder of the High Table, he has never used or managed any of the High Table's matters and benefits. Unexpectedly, this first use was on such a large scale. Nick Fury of S.H.I.E.L.D. also received the news immediately. Don't underestimate the intelligence of the Federation. Is Chen Ye sick? Will he die if he doesn't do anything for a day? Send out our agents immediately to keep an eye on the people in Hell's Kitchen. Coulson said, we have already sent out agents. Then send me 2 more teams. I want to know clearly the actions of everyone in Hell's Kitchen. Black Egg roared, seeing Director Fury's anger. Coulson could only accept the order. He muttered in a low voice, "Send a few more teams. We have sent out all the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know whether this is the headquarters or Hell's Kitchen." "You are crazy, $100 million US. Chen Ye, please withdraw this bounty and give me the $100 million US. Don't talk about the bullshit hand. I can also help you get it back from the American leader. That's $100 million US, you prodigal son, my money." Deadpool, after hearing Chen Ye's bounty, he cried loudly, although there was no tear in his eyes. Vongala I beside him also nodded involuntarily. Vongala I's character did not allow him to be as pitiful as Deadpool, but he agreed with Deadpool's words very much. If he was given $100 million US, he could help Chen Ye deal with the hand. After all, there were still a group of people waiting to be fed behind Vongala I. Although their family seemed to have some power, everyone had to eat, drink, defecate and urinate, and all this money was paid by the Vongala family, so in fact the Vongala family was very poor. Okay. This money is not paid by me. Don't forget that I am the elder of the high table, and there is a certain amount of bounty every year. Don't you put all the money on this election. You can go too. Anyone can make this money. Chen Ye looked at their appearance and said with a smile. After hearing what Chen Ye said, Deadpool immediately put down his bowl and went upstairs to change into his red tights. Seeing that Deadpool was about to go out, Vongala I also put down his reserve, put down his bowl and chopsticks and prepared to resign with Chen Ye. Chen Ye saw that Vongala was about to leave, and immediately stepped forward to grab him. "Don't think about running away. It's been a long time since we last met. Stay with me tonight. Let's have a good chat." Seeing this, Vongala I couldn't leave, so he could only tell Chen Ye that he was going to make a phone call. Chen Ye looked at Vongala I, who was very excited on the phone, and felt a little amused. He didn't expect that a family leader would worry about this little money. Seeing that Vongala I had finished the call, Chen Ye also asked curiously, "A gang leader cares so much about this little money?" Hearing Chen Ye's words, Vongala I was angry and said with a little resentment, "You make it sound so easy. We set up this self-defense force in the orphanage, and then they just walked away, leaving a mess for me to deal with." Hearing Vongala I's complaint, Chen Ye looked embarrassed, then he quickly changed the subject. "Didn't I just give you money? It's all gone so quickly. Expanding the territory doesn't cost money, training them doesn't cost money, and their food, drink, and defecation don't cost money. We don't sell drugs, and we don't do anything illegal. How do you want us to make money?" Vongala I asked back. Chen Ye knew he was in the wrong, so he didn't dare to say anything. He could only quietly clean up the table. After complaining a little, Vongala I knew that Chen Ye was not to blame, and then changed the subject and asked, "Is it worth doing this? Is it worth it for this school?" Chen Ye paused. "You and I are both experienced people. Do you think there will be a way out if Hell's Kitchen does not change? Is it going to be like this forever? Someone has to do it, so why can't it be me? Besides, I don't think I have done anything. Yes, it's just a school." Chen Ye never thought that what he is doing now is so great. Building a school is a good thing for any place, but it is not a good thing only in Hell's Kitchen. It is conceivable how deep the disease of Hell's Kitchen is. Before returning to the world of the previous life, Chen Ye always wanted to do something for his second hometown, the secret base of the hand. At this time, Mrs. Gao and Murakami were sitting on the sofa. And Murakami's apprentice stood aside. The faces of the three people all looked very angry. The atmosphere at the scene was very depressing. The three of them saw the bounty from the high table society, and they didn't expect that Chen Ye, a mere man, would dare to launch a full-scale war against their hand. Now it's not just Mrs. Gao's business, it's the business of the entire hand. Call all the ninjas from other branches right now. I want to let Chen Ye, this ignorant kid, know how powerful the hand is. Mrs. Gao angrily chopped her crutches and said with gritted teeth. Chapter 40. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The kitchen is full of people, and the kitchen is full of people. Hell's Kitchen. Today is the day when Chen Ye convenes a meeting. At the gate of Fisk Building, all kinds of luxury cars gather, including Rolls-Royce, Bentley, and Maybach, all parked at the gate. Each gang leader is surrounded by a bunch of younger brothers, but Chen Ye stipulates that each gang leader can only bring one person in, otherwise, no matter how big the conference room is, it can't accommodate this group of people, and of course it is also to prevent a fight in the building. Everyone is afraid that something will happen to their boss, and a group of gangsters are waiting with guns across the street. What day is today? Why is it so lively? So many gang leaders have come to Fisk building that the black ant on the side saw a rather spectacular scene in front of her. After all, in places like this, only big shots can drive luxury cars. If an ordinary person drives a luxury car, the car will no longer belong to him the next day. That's right. I heard that all the gangs were called by Chen Ye, the owner of the Good Luck restaurant, to hold a meeting today. It seems that they are discussing the establishment of the Hell's Kitchen Community School. Another well-informed Asian ant explained. That's a good thing. I seem to have seen Chen Ye when I was very young. He was one of the few college students in our Hell's Kitchen. I didn't expect that he would still think about us Hell's Kitchen people after he became rich. I heard that the streets where the Good Luck restaurant is located are now managed very safely by Chen Ye. If I had money, I really want to move there. The black ant praised Chen Ye as soon as she heard him. Who would stay in Hell's Kitchen if they had money? They would definitely move out to live outside. What are you thinking about? But it is estimated that it will be difficult to accomplish. Look at the gang leaders outside who are all here to oppose Chen Ye's work. It's a pity that we old men are useless, and it's useless to support Chen Ye, the young man. The Asian ant said worriedly. After listening to the Asian ant's words, the black ant said indignantly. These damn gangsters should go to hell. My poor grandson lost his poor life in a gang fight when he was less than 15 years old. They should all be killed by a cannonball. But when the Asian ant heard the black ant's dangerous speech, she quickly covered the ant's mouth, and then looked around, fearing that she would be silenced if heard by the gangsters, and quickly pulled the black ant away. Not only that, because of fear of hurting innocent people, even the two roads at the entrance of the building were directly blocked. Today, only the gangsters invited by Chen Ye can enter with invitations in hand, and there are 5 security guards and security equipment at the entrance of the building to ensure that everyone who enters cannot hold weapons. What do you mean, you still don't want us to go in with guns? I am already giving face enough for me to come. How can a gangster boss not take a gun for self-defense? One of the gangster leaders who was doing security checks scolded. That's right, what do you mean, if we are not allowed to carry guns, we will not go in. How can we protect our safety without guns? Many gangsters immediately echoed. They all asked to cancel the security check and let themselves bring weapons in. Everyone, we are also thinking about your safety. What if some people bring guns and some do not? This is very unfair. I swear here in the name of Boss Jean Bing that everyone here can walk out of this building safely today. The person in charge of security this time, Bullseye, comforted the gangster leaders. After hearing this, the gangster leaders obediently cooperated with the security check due to Jean Bing's deterrence, but there will always be young people who are not convinced. One of the gangster leaders directly ignored the security check personnel. I won't go through the check, what can you do to me? I saw Bullseye took out a pen from somewhere and threw it away, with a whoosh. The pen pierced the hand of the young gang leader as if it had eyes. Ah, Bullseye looked at the scene with satisfaction and said loudly. What our group hates most is fighting and killing. As long as everyone cooperates, I promise that nothing will happen. Everyone can leave the building safely after the meeting. Harmony brings wealth, harmony brings wealth. After hearing this, the expressions of the gangsters were different, some were sarcastic, some were fearful, and some were calm. But the same thing was that everyone cooperated and handed over their weapons. Bullseye has a natural throwing ability. He can throw any object in his hand to the target with incredible accuracy. Some of his achievements include using playing cards to tear a person's throat, spitting out teeth to penetrate the enemy's skull, throwing a paper airplane to a distant roof, and throwing a toothpick into a window 100 yards away and killing a person. Just as the inspection was in an orderly manner, 5 ragged homeless people suddenly stumbled towards the gate of the Fisk building, the security guards at the door. immediately noticed the 5 homeless people with abnormal behavior and became alert. They all pulled out their guns and pointed them at the 5 homeless people. One of the security guards shouted, "Stop, this is not the place for you." The 5 homeless people continued to rush to the door of the building as if they didn't hear him. As the distance got closer, the building security guards clearly saw the 5 homeless people with fear and a bit of fearlessness, and then saw the exposed bomb fuse. "There is a bomb, be alert, protect the guests." Then they started to shoot at the legs of the 5 homeless people. The bullseye inside heard it and led the gang leader inside in an orderly manner. After the building security guards fired, the 5 homeless people obviously lost their ability to move, but the time bomb did not stop counting down. Then the building security guards quickly started to move sandbags and began to surround the homeless people, trying to reduce the impact of the explosion. However, because the 5 homeless people were too scattered and the number of sandbags needed was too large, the building security guards also began to evacuate. "Damn it, this is your guarantee. Run. I knew that Chen Ye and you had bad intentions and just wanted to wipe us out." That the gang leader in the building immediately began to curse Chen Ye and his gang. Boom. The time bomb exploded, but what the gang leader didn't expect was that the building was intact and they didn't hear any sound. If they hadn't heard the explosion, they would have suspected that the security guard was joking with them. The gang leaders looked around in confusion. "Everyone, please be patient. I, Chen Ye, didn't entertain you well and frightened you. The bomb has been defused." Chen Ye walked in slowly from the hall, along with Vangala I and Master Yi. The gang leaders looked at each other in bewilderment, and they could see big question marks in each other's eyes. I don't know if the previous bomb was a joke by Chen Ye or a real bomb. If it was a real bomb, why didn't it explode? Could it be that Chen Ye used some superpowers? If so, ordinary weapons would be useless against Chen Ye. Some gang leaders began to look at Chen Ye with fear. "Everyone can move to the meeting room. The meeting will start soon." After Chen Ye finished speaking, he walked towards the elevator. Only the gang leaders were left looking at Chen Ye's back with fear, or anger.